Hello, I'm Michelle, your independent voice and lifestyle advocate, and today's topic is all about decluttering and Swedish death cleaning. So let's get started. Swedish death cleaning, what the heck is that? Well, you might have heard a few people talking about in the last couple of years. Obviously, it did come from Sweden, and it's kind of a cultural practice of value of keeping your home in a state that does not require your loved ones and the people who care about you most when you pass away to have an enormous burden ahead of them in terms of wrapping up your life for you and cleaning up a home that has not been well cared for over many decades. So we'll go into a little bit of detail about that. Whereas decluttering is what most of us think of when we're doing a spring cleaning and just, organizing the house. So it could be the point where our house has gotten so messy because we don't have enough storage space anymore for all of the stuff that we own, and we're starting to feel a little bit of stress around it, or possibly can't clean as well because we have so many things out in the open and we don't have the same amount of space to function within as a result either. So how you feel about the space that you go home to every day is really important. And keeping a space that has room to breathe in is more calming. That can allow you to brush off all of the stresses that you might have accumulated out in our busy, frantic worlds, and really fall in love with the space that you have and make it work for you in the ways that you function best. Our homes can sometimes end up housing many objects and artifacts from previous years, lifetimes ago for us. Who we were is being represented more than who we are. Many of those items that we keep do have sentimental value, and I'm not suggesting you need to get rid of all of that, but oftentimes we end up keeping a lot of things that we just don't know what to do with. If somebody approached you today and offered to declutter for you at no charge, said you didn't have to lift a finger, they would do everything, you can just guide them, would you take them up on it? Because I know I sure would. And if your answer was yes, hell yeah, I'd take them up on it, then you probably are somebody who would benefit from getting a little inspired to do some decluttering and Swedish death cleaning yourself. So I have 14 strategies to use that will help you along the way if that's something that you need just a little bit of motivation to get started doing. One of the difficult things about decluttering on a grand scale, like a whole home, is how daunting it feels. So my first suggestion is not to look at it as the whole house. Just divide things up. Like, just give yourself a goal that in January, you're going to do the front hall closet. And then in February, maybe you're going to do the basement. So when you're decluttering, start with the paperwork. Because otherwise, when you go room to room and you keep finding papers, you won't know what to do with it. So I would start with the paperwork. We all have an explosion of paper in our lives. And even in the last decade, if you've moved over to trying to store everything digital, you probably still have a lot of paperwork that you couldn't control that came into your home, or that is from earlier years. Things like instruction manuals to appliances and warranties and income tax returns, all that stuff. Find a central location where you're going to put every single piece of paper that you deal with in your home. Get that set up and organized first. If you do that, you'll probably be able to weed through about 50% of the paper, maybe even more if you're lucky, so that you've got yourself already cleared of all paper in your home to a manageable level that's stored appropriately in some particular room where it's always going to stay. While you're doing your paperwork, take a day to create an in case of emergency folder. That's if you were incapacitated tomorrow, whoever was stepping in to manage your world, you have all of the important information that they need right at their fingertips. So create one big folder called in case of emergency. put whatever they're going to need. So they're going to need, where you bank and, where they're going to get that information, passwords, where your will is kept, if you have a power of attorney, income tax returns, where you keep those, all of your ID, where your, contacts are for your family, all of that stuff. Because if something happens to you, they're operating in the dark, and it's going to make their job, which is already burdensome enough and very challenging, it's going to make it even harder for them. So put it all in one central location, create your in case of emergency box or folder, and then tell them where it is. Tell them that it exists, it's in your house, and where. Don't forget too, if you're getting rid of paper, shred it. So, you don't have to shred some things, but if it has any kind of sensitive information in it, shred it first. Once you're done your paperwork, maybe you can address your clothing, shoes, and accessories. The truth is, a lot of us are holding on to clothing that either no longer fits, is well past its wear-by date. Shoes you never wear, and they're almost brand new, but you never wear them because they hurt your feet. Accessories, especially for women, like a lot of the bags and purses that are really out of date and just kind of junky. They weren't quite high quality to begin with. You don't need 20 bags. Yeah. Makeup and toiletries, all the personal care items, especially things like nail polish. Those things expire, they get old, they separate. So all of the things that are more than 2 years old, get rid of them. Moving on to the kitchen. There's a lot of duplicates in kitchens. And only you will know whether you use everything in your kitchen. And I can understand, even like I keep a Dutch oven that I rarely ever use. But when I need a Dutch oven, I'm sure glad I have it. I'm not going to get rid of that. But I did downsize all my Tupperware last year and all my mugs. Especially a lot of things that the next generation don't want and that you have a lot of and you're not ever using anymore. When my mother was suddenly she became very ill very quickly and was hospitalized, and it became clear in the hospital she could not return to living independently in her apartment. She had a china cabinet filled with all of these wine glasses and shot glasses and china that she herself had not used in 40 years. Clearly was just holding on to it because she thought the next generation would want it. None of us wanted it. So take a look. Spoon collections, plate collections, mug collections, all of those things that nobody wants. Don't hold on to it collecting dust for 40 years and then leave it for someone you care about to make it their problem. Storage areas are the hardest. Sheds, basements, and garages. You might need a team for that. If it's just too daunting for you, then call in the family. Every once in a while, we have to ask for our family for help. Tell them you're going to have as much food and drinks to make them happy. You're going to have lots of tunes on, and it'll be, a family bonding moment. But step up and ask them for their help. Because ultimately, they would rather do it probably now, where they also have your help and the rest of the family, than down the road when they're left on their own and potentially having to do it at a very stressful time and potentially having to do it by themselves and when they're older. Because of the truth of the matter right now, if you have kids, your kids are millennials. But if you wait until you get old and have to move out of your house or possibly die, your kids might be in their 60s. And so you yourself know that if it's already facing a daunting task to you, it's going to be the same for them. Storage units. Oh, people waste so much money holding on to items for years. It may seem like not that expensive at the time that you take on the storage unit, but when you add 10 or 20 years of rent for items that aren't even worth the cost combined of what you paid for in storage fees, if you have items that you're not needing right now, sell them. And then maybe later you might need one of those items, but probably you could rebuy that item or rent it or borrow for way less than the cost of paying for a storage unit for all of those items. Old hobbies and equipment are the next area. So once you've done everything else, take a look at your old hobbies and the equipment and tools that you had to gather to do that hobby. It might have brought you years of joy. But if that equipment is outdated and there's a lot more new modern techniques and you're not likely going to use that old equipment or the supplies, get rid of them now. Then hand it off to another hobbyist of the same nature that could really appreciate getting those tools. E-waste is a real problem for a lot of people. I have an e-waste problem. I have trust issues. I don't trust anybody that they're not going to access the sensitive information that's stored in electronic devices. So every laptop I ever had or my kids ever had, all of the cell phones, I don't know what to do with them. I'm so afraid to just give it to a commercial company where they're going to tell me, oh yes, we wipe everything. I don't trust that they wipe everything or that it's done well and that information isn't going to suddenly pop up on somebody else who purchased the used device or used components from that device suddenly has access to me or my kids' emails or our income tax returns or something. I just don't trust it. So I have 2 giant Rubbermaid tubs in my shed of old electronics. But the truth is, I have some concerns about that too, because almost all of those things have batteries in them. And I don't really know what's going to happen if, there's a heat in the shed gets too high in the summer or what. I'm really not sure. So e-waste is a problem for me. And I'm sure e-waste is a problem for most. Technically, you should really only keep the second last device you had. So if you're working with a new phone now, keep your old phone just in case, just as a backup. If somebody steals your phone or, it goes down, you have your backup old phone to use temporarily. So use one version back for all of your electronics, but anything, older than that, get rid of it. And I give you good advice on where to get rid of it, but I don't have it. So I would love it if any of you have a solid company that you can trust or some good suggestion on what we're supposed to do with all this electronic waste. Let us know in the comments. Books and paper collections. Every once in a while we get books that we think we'll read again. If you're fairly certain you will read it again and it's an important book, then keep it. But you should only have about 5 of those in your collection. The rest of the books, get rid of them. Hand them off now to people who can also enjoy them. Books are meant to be read. Don't house 100 fiction novels. If you're not likely going to read them again, pass them off. There's all kinds of places that would appreciate getting these book donations, but only modern books. If you hold on to books for 20 years and then do a major Swedish death cleaning and try to get rid of those books, most places don't want them. Most people don't want your 20, 25-year-old books that are all musty and so outdated. So enjoy the book when you have it and then move it along quickly. For me, I have a special collection. So I was a public librarian first before I became an elementary school teacher. So right from 30 years ago, I started buying beautifully written, high quality literature, children's literature, all hardcover, often asked for them for Christmas and birthday gifts. And so I have a beautiful collection of children's literature that I just cannot get rid of because I love those books myself. But I also now have 5 grandchildren, another on the way. So in a couple months, I'll have 6 grandkids. All of them, I look forward to a time where I can share those books with them. So I do have a special collection of books. That might be you too. I can understand that. And with the the thing about both decluttering and Swedish death cleaning, it was never intended for you to get rid of your own life in the process. So it's not about becoming such a minimalist that you have no recognition in your own home of the person you are and the life that you lead. It's not about that. So don't be too extreme. Give yourself a little leeway. The other area that we're often very sentimentally attached to are our photos. The truth is, when you're gone, there will be some photos that your family appreciate having. But the vast majority of the photos you might have on hand might be meaningless. So you're all different. You'll all have to decide. But last winter, that was my project. It took me 4 months. I had all of the bins of photos I had collected, and I went through them all, and I threw out about 60% of them. Passing on your items to people that are in your world that you care about are so much more enjoyable to do now, where you can actually see them enjoy what you've passed down to them. If you have 2 drills and they're both good drills and you have more drill bits than you could ever use in a lifetime, then offer it to a millennial who just moved into their first home. These are things that you can really see the appreciation and create a bonding experience with them. Finally, once you've done all of this decluttering and Swedish death cleaning, and you now are in a space you love that really is meeting your needs and creating, just a wonderful feeling when you walk in. You can find things very easily. They're not hard to find when you need them because they're buried in a cabinet. Don't forget your annual maintenance to stay on top of everything. Don't let it slide, because it does take effort to do this, and promise yourself this is only going to be a one-shot deal. From now on, you're going to manage all of your objects and possessions and paper as it comes through the door. And when you're going to stay on top of it so that you are always in a position to leave your home to a loved one to take care of and clean out for you. We all think that we're going to be around for another 30 years, but maybe you aren't. And I'm working, that's my huge goal for 2026, is that I want to make sure that I've got everything set up so that somebody could come in and not have a nightmare ahead of them to deal with should I myself not be able to take responsibility. And that's what it's about too, It's about valuing and honoring the people in your world that are left behind. But it's also about taking responsibility for yourself and all of your possessions. Thanks for joining me today. As an independent voice for those of us who are living midlife plus, I hope that something resonated with you today and you got some value from what I mentioned. And I've also created this checklist so that if you're doing your own Swedish death cleaning, download the checklist. The link is down below. It's a PDF. It's free. And hopefully, this will give you some sort of a place to start in terms of each area in your home that you could tackle. Whether you're solo or partnered, I'd love to have you join my community. Hit subscribe and let's keep navigating this journey together.